Salute is a program for and about men and women who have served our country. Our program includes news about the laws that affect veterans, information on benefits and services, and news from veterans organizations. And now, our host, Bob Peters.
Hello and welcome to Salute. I'm your host, Bob Peters, and with me today is Mr. Bert Nease. Bert lives in Oklahoma now, but originally, you'll tell us where you're originally from, but I want to welcome you to the show, Bert. He's a U.S. Army veteran. And tell us a little bit about yourself. Where you originally from?
Okay, I'm originally from West Virginia, and lived on the farm as a boy. And then when I got 16, I wanted to go into the Army, but I couldn't get in. So until I was 17, and my mother, she still wouldn't sign the papers. Mm-hmm. So I got the neighbor to act like my mother, and she got me in. And in the beginning, took my basic training at Fort Knox, Kentucky. And I thought, well, this is great. And it was a better life than on the farm. And so then in August of 1950, we shipped out, wound up in Japan. 2 days later, wound up in Busan, Korea, and was there for maybe a week or so. And I thought, yeah, this war, we called it.
It's not so bad, huh?
And yeah, I said, not bad at all. So Daejeon, and that's when really the things got hot. And then we made the big push, went through Seoul right up to North Korea, and up to Manchuria. And that's when the Chinese come across the Yellow River, and they pushed us all the way back to Busan. Mm. And of course we made a push again. But we flattened each city coming back. We flattened everything, but about the size of it.
Yeah. Let me ask you, because I know a little bit about the history. When the Chinese were coming in, I mean, did they have their own uniforms, or did they just wear the?
Well,
how did you know they? I mean, we knew they were Chinese. I mean, that's
it was hard to tell a lot of times because I called it insulated underwear, and of course some of them was dressed in uniform, but they had about for every 5 soldiers, they had one gun.
Yeah, I've heard that said that one guy went down and just the other guy would pick up the rifle and off they'd go.
The last one was up on you. So you had to make sure you got him before he got you.
Yeah.
And but when I was wounded two different times, and all those records was burnt in Pyongyang, Korea, South Korea, North Korea, and then in St. Louis, my records was burnt.
Yeah, it was a big fire there. I remember that.
Yeah.
Do you have any proof of it now, or?
No, I don't have no proof at all.
Have you gone to the Veterans Administration or anybody?
I have, yes. I do get, I get 50% on
disability for your wounds?
Yeah, no, I don't get nothing on my wounds. I got one on my right leg here. They didn't pay me a penny. I've got 5 pieces of shrapnel in my left hip. Don't pay me nothing on that either.
Well,
but all nervous condition that I had, where I was blown as high as a telephone pole, and all on mortars, and there was 3 of them. And about the time that I'd start down, the second one came in, and the third one finally I dropped to the ground, and my best buddy, I mean, at that time. And I didn't have a broken bone, but from my ears, eyes, mouth, blood, I didn't know nothing for almost a year. In fact, when my mother and dad did come to see me, and I disowned them. I said, that's not my mother, dad, or my sister.
You didn't know who they were?
Yeah, I said, they're after my money, and I didn't have no money.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I'm sure that was a tough time back then.
Yeah.
But we got to find out more about these records not being able to find. Something we got to talk to somebody, see if we can help do something about that.
Good.
You know. Yeah. So you were mortars came in. Were you in the barracks or
no, we was on the front lines.
On the front line.
And we had a sniper on the hill there, and me and my buddy, we was going to take him out. Well, didn't quite work out that way. Our mortars was short, and they was hitting us instead of the enemy up there.
Yeah. You. How long were you over there?
I was over there, total I think was 18 months from the time I went in.
So
I've always said 18 months, and but it was August of 1950 till July the 1952.
So you received 2 Purple Hearts, did you not?
Yes.
So you have any records of the Purple Hearts?
Yes.
Okay, so that recommendation should help you there.
Yes. I forget what president, he's still alive, but signed my Purple Heart. It wasn't signed by, well, back then, you know, it was Eisenhower, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But I had a hard time getting those.
Yeah, well, things do get confusing in in life, especially with records and the government, so. But you got wounded the first time in the leg, is that what you said?
In the hip.
In the
left
hip,
yeah.
And then the second time, you must have been sent home after that, no?
Yes.
And you said your mom and dad you didn't even know your mom and dad.
No.
Yeah. Well, you definitely saw your share, and I want to thank you for what you did. You got some pictures there. You want to show us those pictures?
Yes.
Some young guy there.
Yes. This is in, this was taken in Korea when I thought the war was good. I thought, boy. And of course, all these is in Korea. And this is when we had 2 days in the rear. And
what are those, the wood around you? What is that all about?
this is, there's houses in here, and that's their fence.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And that's it. You can see, I think, a door here, and there's a rice hut behind there. That's what the houses was. It was made out of rice. And
yeah, I've had a couple other guys that came out here in Korea, and they talk about that, and then they've gone back to Korea. You never went back, did you?
No.
Well, the Korean government has a program where they try to help people go back, and I'll talk to you later about that, because I've got somebody I'm going to meet, so I want you to meet later. So, but anyway, what a difference it is now compared to what it was then.
Oh, yes.
And North Korea is still pretty much, backwards in places, where the South is really modernized, from what I'm told.
Yeah, they got hard clay for floors. Of course, they sleep on the floor, and then there's ducts under that, which is a kitchen on the outside of the house, if that's what you want to call it. And but good place to get all fleas and
Yeah, well,
ones
the
that
accommodations weren't that great, huh?
yeah. And this is a mock picture. Was acting like he was a prisoner. He was South Korean.
And you're the guy in the back
And
there, right?
I've got, yeah, that's just the stock of my M2. No, M1.
M1, I was
See,
gonna say, yeah.
I'm forgetting what they are anymore.
Yeah, so did you ever keep in touch with anybody after you got out?
No, I had one guy that was in Huntington, West Virginia, but lost contact with him. And of course, there was so many of them that I'd forgotten their names, you know. I'd know them by their first name, and we didn't have time to memorize the names.
It wasn't your high school reunions and
No.
stuff, you know, yeah.
No, sir.
Yeah, you had a job to do.
Yeah.
But you had you said you went in because you wanted to get away from the farm.
Yes.
So then after you did your obligation to our country, which we appreciate, when you got out, what happened after you got out? 'Cause
Well, when I got
I
out,
thought that was interesting, where you've been.
yeah, in Charleston, West Virginia, they offered the key to the city. And said, well, when you want to go to work, said, let us know, and said, we'll give you a job. Well, I took vacation for about a month and went to apply for one job. It wasn't hiring. And I went on probably 10 to 15 places, and nobody hired me. So I went to California, and I was out there. I got out there at night, and the next morning I went to General Motors. They hired me right off. I was on the assembly line for a while, and then I moved into the office as a bookkeeper. And was with them for about 2 years. Chrysler Corporation then offered me more money, and so I stayed with them for about a year. But in the meantime, I built my own TV, and 25-inch, and I had gadgets on there. If something went wrong, it would tell you. And so kept that up until the 16:9 format come out, and which was just a few years back. And I gave the TV to my son. I guess he still got it back in West Virginia.
No. How do you just build the TV? I mean, you don't have to go out in your back shed and pick up a piece of this and that. And I mean,
no.
Did you go to school, college?
I went to school and in a little town out of Charleston, Institute. They had a big college there, and so I went to school there, and the teachers, which was two great men, but they would come to me, and something would go wrong with one of the TVs that we was repairing, and so they'd ask me, so what is this, Bert? What's wrong with this one? And for instance, say you didn't have no picture, and the screen was black. Well, most people say, oh, my picture tube went out. Well, if you look at the picture tube on the back, the filaments inside, if they're black, you got a bad picture tube. But if it's lit up, it's something else, and probably it's in the horizontal circuit. But and probably all this is great to you, but
No, this is interesting because now that you're talking about this, it brings back memories of my father. And we got a TV in the 50s, early 50s, I guess, or mid 50s, I don't know. But we didn't have much money, and something would go wrong with the TV. My father would unscrew the screen type thing on the back.
Yes.
And then he'd look inside to look, see which tube was lit, which tube wasn't lit.
Right.
And then he'd pull that out and he'd take it down to the store. But you know, it wasn't any high tech. It was just look over there and see which one isn't lit.
Yeah. Well, you know, I didn't take it down to the store, but I'd pull a tube, and you check across the filament pins, which you have a diagram. And if you don't have no continuity, then you know that tube is bad.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, my dad was a wonderful man. His formal education, I believe, was either the 5th or 7th grade. He was one of 8 kids, so he had to go to work.
Yeah.
You know, that's the old days, you know. So you built this TV.
Yes.
And then what happened? You told me you started your own business?
Yes, I was going there to college, and I think it was 12 months, maybe 18 months, the whole course. But and I was trying to get help from them to set me up in business. Of course, they didn't, but I come out the highest person that ever went through there. In fact, they still got a statue of me of 4 foot, and the excellent that I received, you know, trying to tell the teachers, you know, what was wrong, which I told you a while ago. But then I financed myself, went in business, built me a shop. But in the beginning, I had a shop set up in my basement. And so I decided to move over the hill next to the highway. And I built a building down there, cinder block building. And that was the start. And then later, well, I'm getting ahead of my story there. I had 3 employees, had 5 at different times, but they'd come in, want a job, and they'd tell me they'd work for $5 an hour. And I said, no, I don't pay no wages like that. No certain amount for an hour, because you can sit there with TV in front of you. A couple hours later, you've made $10,
which is big money.
The TV's not done. Is not done. But so I said, I only hire one way. I'll give you 60% now, and if you're good, then in 3 months I'll up it to 80% of the labor. And the guy that knew what he was doing, he would take it. So
when you say the labor, you would charge the customer that much money for the labor, and they got the 80%?
They got 80% of the labor. For instance, it was $49.95. Then they got 80%, which was $40. And
everybody's wondering how you're going to make money.
Yes, I made money off of the parts, and then 20% of the labor, and I made $100,000. I had one technician made $100,000 off of that 80%.
Wow. Now this is when?
This was 1960, starting around 1965.
That's super money then.
Uh-huh. And I kept it till 1992. And I sold out for my best technician. I sold it out to him, the one that earned $100,000 a year. And as far as I know, he still got it today. But I called it Rat Tail TV service.
Rat Tail?
Yeah, now that's R-A-T. Gee whiz. It sounds like rat, but R-A-T, but Radtail, R-A-D.
Oh, Radtail.
R-A-D-T-E-L. I was getting confused with Holman and Huffman, they was in the furniture business. And they say, everybody will call it rat tail. I said, so?
As long as they remember.
Yeah.
They didn't bring me
I
to
said,
business.
I don't care, that's got a ring to it. And he said,
call me anything you want, just don't call me late for dinner.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's old joke.
Said, you'll never make it. Well, boy, I just started climbing up the ladder. And in 1 year, I had made $40,000 that year, which wasn't good. But 3 years down the line, I was making close to 100 then, and then eventually I did make 100. So.
Yeah. So you sold the business. Is that when you decided to come here, or how'd you wind up over here?
Yes, 92. Sold the business out for $50,000 to him, and so then I thought, I'm going to Florida. Well, I had my health wasn't too good then, and doctors told me they wanted me to go to Phoenix, Arizona, and I did go out there, and I was out there about 4 months, and I didn't like it. So I decided I was going to Florida. So I came down here, and I've had pneumonia, I think, twice since '92. And so my health is much better now.
That's good. That's good. And I didn't realize this. We were talking before this airing, that I had met you before, and then that I know your daughter.
Yes.
You know very well. She goes with a very good friend of mine. And I know she did, and I'm talking to you, that you guys take in rescue horses?
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that. How did you get started with that?
Well, Tara, she ran across this man, and he was in the rescue horses, and he's got quite a few of them. In fact, that's where, if one goes bad, that we get one from him. But we got two now, and fixed up the pole barn, and it's something else to look at now. And the horses, they got grass out there plus hay, and we don't let them stay inside a barn at night. I don't have nothing to do with it. It's just my girlfriend.
You lost control years ago,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. So my girlfriend and Tara, they do a good job. Of course, they got Bob's help. So,
so do they pay you to take the horse, or does the government give you, or you just go out and get the horse?
Yeah.
And all the feed and everything and all the medical bills you guys absorb, right?
Yes, yes.
Well,
We
yeah.
don't get paid a penny, except we got the horses and don't have to pay for them. But nobody pays us either.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's great, you know. You get animals get rescued like that.
Yes. And of course, talking about when I come to Florida, well, I went into an interesting business. I wasn't satisfied but being retired, so I went into lock and key business and locksmithing. And I called mine, which a lot of people recognize the name, was Florida Lock and Key. And at that time, my girlfriend, she had Southern Lock and Key.
Oh.
So.
You merged.
Yes. So that worked good, but then I got to the point when I had to go out like 2 o'clock in the morning and go out there and unlock somebody's Cadillac. And then when they called, I said, you got to have cash.
Yeah.
Okay. Get out there, and they don't have cash. They don't. Well, we got you give us the address and we'll send you
trust
the money.
me.
I said, no. I said, when I talked to you, I told you, be cash only. So I was in front of the door, and he was next to the front. I'd push the door shut, walk back to my truck, which I had a dog in there, and I had a gun in there too. And I'd go climb in, and they would try to open the door, and they said, hey, it's locked. I said, that's right, no pay.
Sorry about your luck.
Right.
Well, Bert, you know, I ran out of time. I told you it'd go fast, didn't I?
Yes.
I want to thank you for coming on the show. I want to thank you for your service, and hopefully we'll get some resolve with those issues, because you should be recognized for what you did.
Yes, sir.
You know, thank you. All right, well, this is how we end the show, Bert. To all our veterans out there, our active military and their families, we salute you for all you do. Till next time. We are now entering our third year salute here at Lakefront TV. We've had many great guests and veterans organizations share their stories with us. We'd like to hear from you too. If you're a veteran or a veterans organization, Lake Sumter counties, please give us a call. Lakefront TV can be seen all over Lake County and the villages and worldwide at lakefronttv.com.